Not my cup of tea. I only like progressive music myself. You see, I'm a very progressive girl.
Yes.
Hey up vinyl community, Midge here, a guy in a hat who likes to talk about records, and I thought it was about time I showed you my R's, because I haven't shown you for ages, and that's my recent repetitive rotations, things I've been listening to recently, and some of these go back to January, so it's been ages since I've displayed my R's. And we're in the middle of a red hot heat wave in the UK at the moment. And I just thought, what better time to get your R's out? So here we go. I'm going to show you all these things that I've been listening to regularly at Midge Towers over the last couple of months. And I hope to give you some recommendations. So here we go. So I thought I'd start with this one. And the eagle-eyed amongst you may remember this. I picked it up at a Manchester VC record fair where I met some of the other guys from the VC, and I think I just beat Rob Walker to it. And it's the Confessions of a Pop Performer soundtrack. Now, this is the sort of thing that's right up my alley. I love cheesy 70s comedies. I love kitsch stuff, and this soundtrack and this film just, it's just perfect for me. It's right up my alley. And basically, the Confessions films were a series of, I think you could probably call them soft porn films that were made, sex farces in the 70s. And basically, I think somebody had the idea of, because the Carry On franchise was so popular in the UK and it was laden with innuendo, that they could push it a little bit by actually pushing the innuendo aside and actually having nudity and sex and the comedy as well. It didn't particularly work as well. They're very much of the time. They've dated very badly, but I still love them, but not for the reasons you might think. And the all-star Robin Asquith, who plays Timmy Lee, and he's basically a teenage cheeky chappy who basically ends up in bed with every woman he comes across in the films. For some bizarre reason, they seem to not be able to leave him alone. And I've got a theory about that. They talk about the 70s in terms of women being very much stay-at-home people, they sort of feathered the nest, they made the meals, they looked after the husbands and the kids, they did the groceries and things like that. And, it all tied up in the feminist movement and women's right to work, because this film follows every cliche in the book about women in the 70s in terms of they were all young and attractive, they were all married to men who looked like they're in the 60s and well past it. And they just used to stay at home bored. So when Robin Asquith, merrily came along with his window cleaning round or whatever he was up to, he ended up having sex with them in about 30 seconds, presumably because they were so bored. So in a way, you could say, I've got a theory that, Robin Asquith was actually part of the feminist movement in the 70s and women's liberation, because I think women actively started looking for work and jobs just to avoid being so bored at home that they would sleep with Robin Asquith. So he probably deserves a lot more credit than he's given, to be fair. But this is the Confessions of a Pop Performer, and obviously this is one of my favourites because it ties in with music as well. And up until recently, I didn't know they'd done a soundtrack for the film. It was only the last couple of years that I spotted one, and I thought, oh, right, yeah, that's right up my street. And finally managed to find one. I was outbid for one on eBay, but then when we were scouting around Manchester, I saw a copy and I thought, I've got to have that. I've got to have it. And it was cheaper than what I actually bid originally for it. So that was great. And it hasn't disappointed. But I'm going to talk about the film a bit first. So basically, it's part of the Confession series. So the storyline, as it is that Timmy Lee and his brother-in-law, always on the make, trying to make a bit of money, sees a 70s boom in rock bands and think they'll have a slice of it. So basically, they find a local band called Kipper, and the brother-in-law Sid, Robin Asquith's brother-in-law, decides to manage the band, and Robin Asquith somehow ends up playing the drums, miming very badly, I must add, all the way through the film as the drummer. So basically, the soundtrack consists of songs from the film that this imaginary band Kipper perform, and it's just a great period piece film. So the trials and tribulations of being a rock band. Robin Asquith, obviously very clumsy, ends up in several scrapes, not only with women, but, totally accident prone. Yeah, loads of nudity, loads of girls. You shouldn't really know what to expect. But there's some fascinating snapshots in it as well. For example, there's a piece in the film where they're trying to hype the single to get in the charts. So they go around all the record shops in the area, and they buy up all the singles by the band Kipper. And it's great to see what the record shops were like back then. And there's also a reason why. There's a scene in the film why it's so hard to get mint copies of 7-inch singles from the 70s. And it's for this reason. Also, it's worth pointing out that if you do pick up a 70s single, it's worth checking the actual copy for marks, skid marks. Obviously, there's lots of reasons why this film is great. These Confessions series had a lot of the cream of comedians and actors of the 70s. You'd be amazed what sort of people line up for films like this, presumably because they paid good money and it wasn't really much of a stretch for them. But for example, Jill Gascoigne, who made a career as I can't remember, was it Juliet Bravo or The Gentle Touch, something like that. But if you want to see a nude, then check out the film. I think she did actually try and get the film stopped because when she made it big in that programme, I think they reissued it and she tried to stop them for obvious reasons. But yeah, Jill Gascoigne's in it. She doesn't often wear many clothes in it. And loads of comedians, loads of actors. Bill Maynard's in it. The cream of the acting profession really lined up to do these films for some reason. And it's a great film. And also, you hear about these classic lines in movies like, go ahead, make my day. You've got, I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. And here's looking at you, kid. But to me, they all pale in comparison to this line. It's the greatest line in any film ever.
We won't have any trouble.
No?
Have you seen my Fanny?
Blimey, I saw The Curse of Frankenstein. That was enough.
So, what do we actually have on the soundtrack? Well, basically, you've got all the songs that Kipper did, the imaginary band in the film did. So they're like a mixture of like glam rock, stompers, and rock songs. So you've got the Clapham, which you can see a clip of here.
Dance tune from South London. It's called the Clapham. It's a new dance that's going around. It's gonna be the rage of London town.
You've got Ooh Shalala, which is a bit like a Small Faces Take-Off. Accidents Will Happen, again, a bit of glam rock. Kipper as well, Mean as Jack the Ripper, great lyrics, another glam rock stomper. And Hell of a Fuss on the Late Night Bus, which is a great track as well. I love that track. You've got Diddy David Hamilton here, who provides a few Cockney sleeve notes, which is a bit odd. And I love this soundtrack. It's fantastic. You've also got some spoken word interludes by Robin Asquith in character as Timmy Lee, which are quite amusing. But that's a nice feature as well. Also, you've got a few library type songs on the second side that are sort of like, instrumentals from the movie, but they're quite cool as well. Some of them are a bit jazzy, a bit laid back, but library-esque type pieces. They're all composed by Ed Welch, who's probably the most famous for composing for TV. And it's probably the most famous TV theme tune was Blockbusters, the UK panel game that featured a lot of students. You'll probably remember it. This is the theme tune. Yeah, that dancing bit was a bit too studenty for me. Even back then, I wanted them all mowed down. But yeah, Ed Welch was most famous for that. So he composes the library type instrumental themes on there. You've got your opening song by Three's a Crowd, Confessions of Timmy Lee, which basically talks about Timmy as your lovable rogue who won't settle down and always sleeping with women again and getting up to no good and that sort of thing. And you've also got a couple of tracks from Confessions of a Window Cleaner on here as well. So all in all, it's, you couldn't ask for a better package. It's a superb soundtrack. Bizarrely, a lot of the songs on here are composed by Bugatti and Musker, who were like a 70s singer-songwriter partnership. They were more famous for writing songs for other people. I think Modern Girl by Sheena Easton, they wrote that, but I think they did write quite a few hits for other people in the 70s. And they made a sort of like a soft rock album, which is well worth checking out as well. But I suppose you've got to start somewhere, haven't you? And they started on Confessions of a Pop Performer, which is a bit odd. But yeah, all in all, fantastic soundtrack. I've been playing this a lot and it always puts a smile on my face. But yeah, if you see it, it's well worth picking it up if you've got the sort of sensibilities I have. Crude humour and lots of nudity. So yeah, right up my alley. Although I'm not doing this channel in the nude, don't worry. That won't happen. But yeah, just I love it. Absolutely superb. So that's Confessions of a Pop Performer. So next up, something a little bit more modern, or is it? This is a record that Jack at the Vinyl Void put me onto, and I think Vinyl Richie showed it ages ago as well, and I finally got a copy, and it's absolutely superb. And it's the album by one-man band Kay Slater, who goes under the name of Sharp Pins, and this is his 2025 album Balloon Balloon Balloon. So good he named it 3 times, and it's an absolute banger. It's modern psychedelia. So basically all his influences are in the 60s, so it's heavily 60s influence. There's psychedelia, there's power pop, there's jangle, but it's so utterly amazingly done. It's fantastic. It's got a very lo-fi approach. There's a lot of tape hiss that goes on. It was recorded at his home as well in proper studios, and there's a whopping 21 tracks on it. It's a single album, so some of the songs are sketches or like brief snippets of ideas and things like that, but it's amazing. The songwriting here it's not a pastiche at all, because the songs are so good. It's got a real ear for like a melody and a riff and a jangle. It's superb. I can't stop playing it, and I'm really grateful that Jack put me onto it. It's superb. I can't stop playing it. He's made 2 other albums, I think. I think this is his 3rd album, if I'm right. But it's superb. There's lots of Byrds influences. There's some early Beatles influences there. And it's enthralled to the 60s, but amazingly so. It's so catchy, it's so upbeat, it's so summery. There's loads of psychedelic effects all over it. And to say that most of it is done by this 21-year-old is absolutely incredible. And I can't stop playing it. It's fantastic. Even the small snippets of songs, the unfinished type sounding songs, you can't believe that somebody's got such a gift for melody that they can just throw stuff out there that's just unfinished and just never develop it any further. But I can't stop playing it. I can't recommend this highly enough. If you like psychedelia, if you like the 60s, if you like sort of like Byrds influence, power pop, this is the album for you, and I can't stop playing it. It's absolutely superb. And it comes with just standard black vinyl. It comes with this fold out lyric sheet with some very psychedelic and bizarre lyrics on it. But yeah, I can't recommend this enough. If you've not heard it, check it out. Sharp Pins and Balloon Balloon Balloon. Superb. Next up is an album I just stumbled across. Didn't know anything about the band. I never heard it. Just thought I'd take a chance on it, and I've been really enjoying it. And it's a 1973 album by the band Ellis, and it's called Why Not. Love the cover on Epic. And yeah, I picked this up, looked interesting, and recognised a few of the names on it. So obviously the front man is Steve Ellis of The Love Affair. Decided to go solo and instead formed a band. And I don't know if you know his vocals, but he's very, very reminiscent of Steve Marriott. So sort of like soulful, croaky, sort of raw, but really sort of blue-eyed soul, I guess you'd call it. Great vocalist, but does really sound like Steve Marriott. And the keyboardist, Zoot Money, who's played with no end of people over the years. Fantastic keyboardist. And together they fronted this band called Ellis. You've got Andy G on guitars and Nick South on bass, Davey Lutton on drums, and it's produced by Mike Vernon of Blue Horizon Records. It has bluesy elements, but it's not really a blues rock album. It's more like your sort of like raw rock. If you like Humble Pie or you like The Faces, then you'll love this album. You'll love this Ellis album. They've got like a sort of like that sort of barroom boogie rock sort of sound to them. And yeah, it's a great album from 1973. You can see the band there. They look like they're having a good time. And yeah, some great tracks on here. Goodbye Boredom, Loud and Lazy Love Songs, Mighty Mystic Lady, which has a great lyric in it. She goes to church on Sunday to take care of Saturday night. Love that line. But yeah, if you like raw, sort of catchy blues edge rock, but it's more boogie rock, I'd say, then this is really worth checking out. They only made 2 albums, Ellis. I think the record company was more interested in promoting Steve Ellis as a solo artist. I don't think they were really interested in the band in itself, so they didn't really give it a lot of promotion. And I think their first album, I think Roger Daltrey produced their first album, so I'm looking for that as well. But I've been really enjoying this. It's a great album, really catchy songs on it, and yeah, it's just a great rock album. It's on the Yellow Epic label. But yeah, I've been really enjoying it. So, but it wasn't an expensive album either. It's quite cheap to pick up. But yeah, really been enjoying that. So that's Ellis and Why Not. So this is an album I've been playing a lot since the start of the year, and I think it's really... And this is the soundtrack. This is another soundtrack, a soundtrack to a film that I loved when I was a kid, and it felt very exciting and fresh at the time. And this is a superb reissue that came out at the start of the year, and it's a soundtrack to the film Wild Style. Obviously, Wild Style was a 1982 film, seminal sort of hip-hop motion picture. It's still held up in high regard now. And it's sort of like, it's like a film. It does have a loose storyline, but it's also in its own way a documentary as well, made by Charlie Ahern. And it features a lot of like seminal figures of the day, or figures who went on to become seminal. So it's got a really great cast. It's got like Fab Five Freddy, it's got Lady Pink, it's got the graffiti artist Lee in it, who made some, really high regarded, one of the early innovators of graffiti art. The Rocksteady Crew, Grandmaster Flash, Cold Crush Brothers, all the old school MCs and DJs, Charlie Crush, and it was just a celebration. It was more or less a celebration of the burgeoning sort of hip hop culture at the time. So you've got graffiti art, you've got early hip hop, beatboxing, breakdancing, scratching, mixing breaks. So basically, this is the cornerstone of hip hop. Basically, the film celebrated all the culture, and it was just in its infancy back then. And it's such an important film and such an important soundtrack as well, because you've got a great track list on this reissue. You've got Grand Wizard Theodore, you've got Rodney C, Cold Crush Brothers, Fantastic Freaks, all the battles that were in the film, loads of the beats, loads of the sort of flows that they were doing in the film. And it's superb. And the great thing about this reissue is it also has 2 extra sides. So on side C, you've got all the instrumental beats and breaks that were used in the film, and they weren't, they weren't made originally for the film. They weren't sort of sampled. All the beats and stuff were made specifically for the film. And Chris Stein of Talking Heads composed a lot of them with Fab Five Freddy, and the drummer they hired, made the beats specifically for this album. So these are all the instrumental cuts from the album. Like I say, Chris Stein, it originally came out on Chris Stein's record label, so he had a large part of the music back then. And on side D, you've got what's called a Wild Style scratch tool, which is basically all the dialogue in the film mixed together, so DJs can cut it up and drop samples of speech into it. And you've got 2 Kenny Dope edits, extended mixes of 2 of the cuts, the Baby Beat and the Jungle Beat, which are quite well known, extended mixes of those. So you've got the original soundtrack on A and B, you've got the instrumental beats and breaks, and then you've got some DJ tools on side D. So it's a superb reissue that's done. It's on Mr. Bongo Records, and they've done such a great job of this. But like I say, the film is superb. So the film's loose plot is the graffiti artist Lee, who plays himself, is basically somebody who's young kid, wants to become an artist, but by doing graffiti art and taken seriously. And it's sort of like his sort of direction in life and how it expands and how he seeks his goal, and just basically how he gets mixed in with all the hip-hop culture that's going on at the time. You've also got his love interest, who's played by Lady Pink, who was another very famous early hip-hop graffiti artist, unusually for a female to be so well known in that area, but Lady Pink's also quite legendary. She's a big artist in her own right. So you've got 2 real-life graffiti artists there. I mean, Lee's work especially is seminal at that time. I'm sure you've seen some of the old school pictures of his art, just classic walls and classic murals he did during the time. So you've got that mixed in with a lot of footage of hip-hop artists and hip-hop crews doing old school sort of battles and freestyles on the streets, and all the dancers, all the things, just everything that's great about hip-hop culture is just covered in it. But its loose storyline just follows Lee through the film about him doing a massive mural at the end for a big concert that's happening on the streets at the end of the film. So yeah, it's a great sort of, it's raw, low budget, but it's such a great film. And back when you were a kid, this was everything that was exciting about that scene at the time: graffiti and hip hop and DJs and the breaks and all the things that were going on. So yeah, it was a big movie at the time, and it still is. And this is sort of like the foundation of all that's come from it. MCs now still quote the lines from this film. They still quote some of the lines from the breaks and the freestyling and the battles in here. So it's a big cornerstone of hip hop. It's still revered today, and like I said, this reissue is absolutely superb. Like I say, it's a double album. There's shots from the film there. There's Lee and Lady Pink, and this reissue is really well done. It comes with an extra flexi disc with the Fantastic Freaks doing their rhymes live. It comes with some postcards of scenes from the film. There's Charlie Ahern there directing. There's Lee and Lady Pink. There's some of the whole car carriages that they used to do, and just some of the classic murals from back in the day. It comes with a Wild Style sticker sheet too, and it's a double album. One album is on yellow vinyl and the other one is on teal. I love that colour, teal. And a poster, your Wild Style poster, if you can fit it on. So yeah, Yeah, an absolutely great package. It's, you know, how reissues should be done. Superb. So that's on Mr. Bongo. So I've been playing that a lot, and, you know, very nostalgic, takes me back. And I think I love old school hip hop. It still stands up today for me, and I do listen to a lot of old school hip hop. But yeah, really recommend checking that out. 2LP reissue on Mr. Bongo of the Wild Style soundtrack. So yeah, highly recommend that. Loving it, absolutely loving it. And here are a few of the dancers from that movie.
The dawn, yes, they make the shake. Give it to the freak, you close your shit. Mr. Freeze walk in. The serious group goes to Mr. Freeze, making on the move, rocking up with the boy. I drinking with the women, fucking with a toy. So I'm at night, and suck a nigga to the break of daylight. Oh, baby, so we go wild, y'all boys right now.
And the last of my recent repetitive rotations for today is a Private Press album that's just been reissued by the great Numero label. It was originally made and issued in 1982. I think there was only a run of 100 that were ever made. And it's a real curio album, this, but I've been really enjoying it. And it's an album by a guy called Stan Hubbs, called Crystal. And this is Stan Hubbs here. Yeah, strange looking guy. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, is his hair receding or is his forehead expanding? But I don't think we'll ever know the answer to that question because Stan has passed away now, unfortunately. There were a lot of rumours around and urban myths that he was the first man ever to pass away from excessive pot consumption, although that theory has been debunked now by his family, but he does look like a man who liked to partake of the herb. And yeah, this is a curio. This is sort of like an album that he decided to make. It's been called like a midlife crisis record. So Stan was an amateur musician and songwriter, and when he was 43, he decided to make an album. So he gathered a lot of sort of a lot younger than him, musicians to form a band, and he recorded this album in his cabin in North Carolina. And yeah, it's a good example of a private press. If you look on the back cover, those are the musicians that he chose to make the album with. And yeah, it's a real curio. So it was released in 82, and it sounds so out of time. So you can understand why it didn't take off, or the copies that it distributed didn't gain a wider interest at the time. This is sort of like a sludgy, psychedelic-edged, hippie ethos type album. So it was totally out of time if you think about the bands and the music that was going around in 82. So it basically vanished without trace until a couple of record collectors, as is usually the case, found a couple of copies in a charity shop, and a label reissued it then, and now Numero have reissued it again. And it is a very, very strange album in terms of, I'm going to talk about it in terms that are probably very unflattering, but basically Stan has got a very weak sort of monotone voice, and he uses this lady here called Chris O'Neill to co-sing the songs with him. Now, it doesn't work for me at all because her voice is quite flat and folky, his is quite monotone. So even together, it doesn't sound good. They just sound totally different. They don't blend or anything like that. But every song, I think, on here, if I remember rightly, they both sing too. So Stan was quite good he took a back seat really on this album. Although he wrote all the songs and he plays keyboard on it, he did let the other musicians that he involved take centre stage in a way. And also the trouble is Stan plays a really weird sounding sort of electronic keyboard on here, which sounds quite wimpy, so you can't always hear what he's playing. Obviously, it's a private press, so it does sound cheaply recorded. It does sound quite sludgy at times. But the real star of the show is the guitarist, the young guitarist on here, who is Larry Doyle, who's this guy here. Now, all the way through the album, he adds these sort of acid-fried psychedelic guitar leads all the way through the album. and he can solo like a demon, and it's what gives the album its sort of like psychedelic edge, because his solos are incredible, just like sound really acidy and a bit freaky, and it's great the way he solos over some of the tracks. He also had some sort of like textures as well. So there's a track called what's it called now? I've made a note. Golden Rose, that's it, Golden Rose. And he had some sort of like beautiful, sort of summery, shimmery, ripply type guitar to it. And it sounds beautiful, absolutely wonderful. And it does sort of like some really blistering guitar solos as well on let me think what song it is. Juggernaut, that's like an 8-minute extended track. He had some great guitar lines on there. And the curiously titled "The Best Man for Some Jobs is a Woman" has got some really great acid guitar lines on there. So I think that's what really gives the album its sort of stature, because in a lot of ways it doesn't really work. But it's one of those albums where the more I listened to it, the more I really enjoyed it and the more I got into it. And obviously that is what's the great thing about Private Press albums. For most part, they're just talented amateurs. They don't have a producer. They don't have great recording facilities. There's no record label breathing down the neck saying, you can't do that. That doesn't sound commercial enough. You need to tighten up this song. You need to change this. You need to change that. This is one man's vision. And that's what I love about Private Pressers. They're just like very much of the band saying, this is what we want to do. It might not sound great. It might not sound, of the quality that most records do. But, the vision is pure. It is his vision, if you see what I mean. But, I've been really enjoying this. It is a strange album. A lot of the lyrics are quite hippie-ish, and Numero have recreated this booklet of Stan's drawings and lyrics that was in copies of the original album. And there's some really bizarre sort of hippie-ish type lyrics. You better get ready if you want a magic woman. Make some poetry, man. Make some poetry. She said, I got the coconut. Do you have the lime? It's bizarre, and they taught me how to shoot straight and who owns the church. They taught me what is good and left me in the lurch. There's some really strange lyrics on here. My favourite is actually the track Golden Rose, and it's about a wise man telling Stan the 4 things he needs to do to be happy in life. And most of them revolve around being artistic, which is cool. Get your fingers in the paint, make a rhyme, even plant some trees, or put music to words like these. And he finishes off, 4 things to make you cool as a breeze, and the last one is to have no ambition. And I can really get on board with that. I love that song. It's great. And the hippie-ish lyrics, bizarre at times, but they really work with the music. So, yeah, a real curio. And it must have sounded so out of time in 1982. But it still sounds strange now, which is what I like about it. It does take a bit of work to get into, but like I say, part of the joys of Private Pressers is the fact that they're so bizarre and unpolished, and they're not meant for major commercial success, but they are still interesting listens and great listens. So it's weird, it's sludgy, but it's really wonderful. There's no polish, and the quirkiness of the album is what makes the album. So yeah, that's Stan Hubbs and Crystal, and I've really been enjoying that. A really odd record, but one that I think is well worth checking out. And that's it. So for this time, I don't want to go on too long like I normally do, even though I probably already have. I'm going to hopefully do more of these because I like, telling you what I'm listening to, basically. So now I'm going to go outside, sit in the sunshine and listen to some cool psychedelic music, I think, and have a beer. So in the great words of our Yorkshire accent, I'll sithy.